Many colleges across the U.S. have seen an overall decline in enrollment, along with financial troubles. The 2018 survey of college and university presidents reported that nearly 1 in 8 college chief executives predict their own institution could fold or combine in the next 5 years.
I don't. I think that times are going to be tough for a while. And they've been tough before. And I think they have strategies and ways to manage through that for a period of time.
The Midwest, especially Iowa, is one of those regions that could be in danger.
In the farming, the agricultural Midwest, what you see is that populations in most of these states are aging, which means there are fewer and fewer young people graduating from high school.
But 5 or 6 years ago, marginal students who might not go to college, who didn't perform well in high school, went to college. And I don't think that's the case anymore. I think they now see that they have other options besides going to college. And there are lots of good jobs that are out there that they can go get, and they can start making money immediately.
So we're all dealing with the same issue. We're all dealing with this issue of changing demographics. The pool of students that we once thought of serving is changing, which causes us to think about, well, what different pool of students ought we to be serving? If our mission is a valuable mission, then how do we serve as many students as we can? So we're all thinking in those ways.
Waldorf was a 2-year for most of its life. I changed that. We adopted our first baccalaureate programs, and I mean, it was a struggle. I mean, it was a college that never had a great deal of money. So if you get a bleep in the map, you can get into trouble pretty quickly. But as I said, it was 10 years after I left that they decided to sell. And I really wasn't privy to very much information. Their enrollment was pretty decent. So it wasn't an enrollment issue per se, it was just a financial issue.
As a matter of fact, one of our institutions 5 years ago I thought was going to close. And they hired a president who came in and said, well, we're not closing it. And he's just done a great job.
Luther is down about 400, and I'm troubled by that because I wish them well. It's a fine school and a sister institution.
Simpson College of Indianola, Iowa, has been forced to cut 12 faculty positions across 9 different academic programs due to financial issues. President Simmons also said in a recent meeting that Iowa is considered the worst market for higher education. He added that it is due to the decline in high school graduates in the state. Private colleges in Iowa have a student body that roughly consists of 60% in-state students. Colleges have realized that they can't solely rely on Iowa residents to fill their dorms. That's why they're developing new methods to adapt to this fluid environment.
So we've been around for 160 years. And the interesting thing, it was first established so that the founder originally said, I want our children to go to school locally. And we have continued that basic philosophy where individuals can get their degree locally, no matter where they're at, no matter what the situation might be.
Iowa is in the heartland, and it's home to 33 private colleges, 25 of whom are nonprofit and a part of the Iowa Association of Independent Colleges and Universities, commonly known as IACU, an organization that lobbies for state funds for Iowa's college-bound students.
The focus now is simply on the Iowa tuition grant and getting that appropriation increased. We're sort of a database. We collect data, and not a lot, but we collect data that is going to be helpful or interesting or help presidents make decisions about what they're doing on their campuses. And so part of our responsibilities are those. But mostly our responsibilities are protecting and trying to increase the appropriation that the state provides for the Iowa Tuition Grant Program.
With tuition at an all-time high nationwide, many students opt to attend a community college or seek jobs right out of high school rather than pay for their bachelor's degree. With money as one of the driving forces behind the decision, IACUE and their support of the Iowa Tuition Grant are important in alleviating some of the financial burden that comes with a college education.
It's a $48 million program provided as a financial aid to those most needy students in Iowa who choose to attend a private college. So it's the best program in the country, really, the most successful, and works as well as any program like it in the United States. So we're very proud of it, and it needs to be protected.
It sends a message to legislators, to parents, to schools that private colleges are accessible and an important part of the higher education framework in Iowa. So it's an absolutely critical program.
In Iowa, $500 million is raised privately by my 25 private colleges and given to students in the form of financial aid every year, $500 million. The Iowa Tuition Grant's only $48 million, so the institutions are kicking in 10 times, that.
In spite of hardships, many college administrators in the Iowa education system have not expressed the same sort of urgency or come to terms with the realization that there is an elephant in the room on the topic of colleges and enrollment in Iowa, and that a number of institutions are at risk.
I can't speculate about closures in Iowa over the next several years. I don't anticipate any.
These colleges have been in business for 150 years. So this is kind of cyclical. The more jobs that are, that come into the state, the more opportunities there are for people and families to move here. That'll change. It's always cyclical. But for right now, that enrollment decrease of high school graduates is a little frightening.
In order to not go under, schools have to explore and implement innovative ways to get students to attend their institutions. Upper Iowa and Wartburg College are just 2 of the 25 schools a part of IACUE focusing on innovative ways to keep their head above water.
The key to attracting students, whether they're from Iowa or Arizona or California or Hawaii or whatever, is to make sure that what we have here is this really robust, really complete array of opportunities for students to come and study and work and do and be active and get engaged so that they can be perfecting their learning and exploring their faith, and on the basis of those, building lives when they lead here, lives of leadership and service.
I want to say in the 70s where we started with some self-paced programs. Self-paced programs where we basically offered those to folks that were in the military or deployed or wherever, where they could do correspondence programs. So to this day we still do that. Right along with that, in the 80s we started with establishing some centers, some locations, whether it's in Waterloo or whether it's in Madison or Milwaukee or Arizona. So we now have 26 locations around the 25 locations around the U.S. in 7 states where we are offering programs and education to adult learners primarily. Not the traditional students, but the adult learners.
So they have realized the disadvantage of being in Fayette and have used have been very aggressive and entrepreneurial in seeking students in other places and have done that successfully.
I'm not yet convinced that online education is appropriate for very many people between the ages of 18 and 22. For us, being so committed to this education around service and leadership, for us, all this other stuff we do is extremely valuable. And students see it as extremely valuable. And I don't know how you would deliver that stuff online. So when I think about Wartburg, here's what I think about it. I think that we're going to find some opportunities to deliver programs online that will be appropriate for students who are out there in the world already working.
And then in 1999, we started up our online initiatives. And so online's grown. And so when you look at all the different modalities, when you look at here on campus, we have approximately 750 students here at the Fayette campus. We've got, as a total, about 3,000 students online. And then we've got students, another couple thousand that are at the locations, in the center locations. Some of those are on military bases, on 5 military bases. And then we even started, and we've had students located or locations in international places like Malaysia and Hong Kong.
We're changing the percentage of students at Wartburg from Iowa by about 1% per year. It's really interesting to watch. So it's like we drop about 1% per year. Not because we're trying to attract fewer Iowans, but because we're being more intentional about trying to attract students from elsewhere, from Arizona, from Texas, from Florida, from Hawaii, from Colorado, from Illinois.
With out-of-state recruiting comes increased costs when it comes to traveling. Arizona native Sierra Lovato found Wartburg especially helpful with their flyout program.
The flyout program was really nice because, again, with like college application fees and other travel costs, like go to other campuses, it really adds up. And so the fact that Wartburg helps get us here is really nice.
So we're trying to be more intentional about attracting students from elsewhere because we know that there aren't going to be enough high school students in Iowa forever to populate the student body.
Another saving grace of colleges' wallets is the donations by alumni and supporters. Rewind to the 80s, Upper Iowa was struggling and would have faced closure if it wasn't for David Bolger and his generous donation saving the college.
Well, that's interesting because I think at that time, so the story goes, it was one vote away from closure from the board. And throughout Upper Iowa's history, we've had many heroes and sheroes. It's what we have these folks who have really committed their lives to Upper Iowa University, and that's a great part of our history. And so David Bolger was one of them. We have the Andrews family. We have many who have the Harms family. We have many who have really, they've committed their lives to Upper Iowa University and believe in it.
Upper Iowa is not the only college that has such a Cinderella story. All colleges rely on donations, but many nonprofit colleges have been saved by generous donations when they need it the most. Wartburg and Upper Iowa have quite different approaches to staying viable, but there is a universal similarity between the two. They both have found the answer to their problems lie beyond state lines.
I mean, I can't frankly think of anybody in the Iowa system right now that I would say is troubled in any significant way. So I think we're really lucky, and I'm optimistic about the future.
It's a long-term issue for the state. The state legislature plays a role in that by attracting new businesses to come that are going to bring, good jobs and that are going to attract people from other states to move here and, and start a career. It's that. It's also innovation, I think, on the local communities, trying to entice companies to come to their towns, to their rural areas. So it's everybody's responsibility is what I'm saying, but economic activity is really the key. It really is the key.